So spirituality has to be our new crypto in these terms. You know what I mean? We need to step up and upgrade the way that we develop ourselves that is congruent with the times if we want to win.
So let's
Something
dive
like that.
into where does purpose play into this with the masculinity of the new era?
Oh, that's an awesome question as well. So the thing with purpose is notice how when the energy of time has changed, more and more people suddenly start asking what is their purpose, how can they find the real meaning of life, how can they manifest their gifts and their mission in this world, because it's also required. You see, we exist in time like fish exist in water, and it colors our thoughts, our feelings, even changes our bodies. And so the thing with purpose is linked to who we really are. So our purpose is to become our true selves, the
Right.
masters of reality. And people think that living your purpose is a career choice. It's like, okay, so what do I do next? Like, what job should I apply for to live my purpose? And it doesn't work that way because um, the steps are given wrong. So obviously, living your purpose also involves you doing something to share your gift with the world, but it's a next step. So the first step is you find how to reunite with your true self, aka become not just a mundane man but a divine being living this mundane experience and illuminating it, transforming it. And this is why I said the new man is a master of realities. This is why people love the idea of being a Jedi, because they sense it resonates in their heart. They're like, we are supposed to be a lot more powerful than we currently are. And so living your purpose means finding that power within you, integrating it in your current self, aka becoming that higher self now, evolving. And this is why I talk a lot about personal conscious evolution, because you choose to speed up your journey and to get to that point a lot quicker. So you become your true self, and that journey allows you to see what you can do, because you can't see what you can do up until you find out who you are.
Yeah, that's huge. And I think that's why I just call to it so much, like my masculine side or whatever, just my being calls to purpose because it forces you to lean into your edge and to go into the unknown. You know, that classic
Yeah.
hero's of going into the unknown. And I like, I think it's Bashar who said like, what all you find in the unknown is more of yourself. And so that's really cool. And so it's like you have to be tested, you have to go through challenges and obstacles. And I think like I feel like that's a lot of my work with men is helping men see that, especially since we're in such a transformative time and there's a lot of
Yeah.
that like what is it, creation and destruction are two sides of the same coin. So right now we're
Yeah.
kind of going through very like destructive times where things are falling apart or people's lives are falling apart. But I'm trying to
Mm.
tell people like, no, it's actually good. I know this seems chaotic and it seems like your life's ending, and it is in a certain way, but get excited because this is why. Like you're actually on your hero journey. You're actually going through, and the universe is trying to give you what you want, but it just doesn't
Yeah.
appear that way. Like you have to build the responsibility and the strength to receive like all the gifts and things you're trying to create in your reality. So
That's true. Yeah. That's absolutely true. But also a lot of destruction and disruption happens because the old energy of time is withdrawing and the new one is coming in. So it wipes out loads of old structures. And as you can see, it affects us on all levels. So the monetary system, the government, like we've got crypto now. And this is why I always tell people, look, you accept that everything is changing around. Like a few years ago, nobody even knew about crypto. And now everyone who doesn't do it seems like, oh, you are living fossil or what? You don't do crypto.
yeah.
So spirituality has to be our new crypto in these terms. You know what I mean? We need to step up and upgrade the way that we develop ourselves that is congruent with the times if we want to win.
Absolutely, and I feel even just the way we relate to one another too, because like we're awakening that we're more than just human. Like the way I see it is like
Yeah,
I see myself. I'm like I'm a multidimensional being having a human experience, and
yeah,
a
yeah,
lot of
yeah.
people are waking up to that in different ways, or maybe they have different ways of saying that and whatnot. But it's cool, but it also changes like the dynamics of how we relate to each other and energetically, right? Too,
Absolutely,
and it's
absolutely, and I
it's
love it.
exciting at the same time. Yeah.
Yeah, I
So
love it because look, actually notice how even 10 years ago, if you started talking about energy, especially with guys, everyone would be like, "You're
yeah.
weird," and now everyone is like, "Yeah, you're right. I feel the same. I resonate with that." This is because this new time energy is changing the way we think, whether we like it or not. And so, for someone, you know, the quicker we accept that and start using that to our advantage, the better it would be for us.
Let's talk about becoming a superhero, because I
Yeah.
know that's your passion. So let's talk about becoming a superhero or an elite version of yourself. What is like the path look like for someone who is starting to wake up to these new realities? Is someone who wants to be masculine, like the masculine man of the new era, either find his purpose or like start focusing on his purpose to dominate it or whatnot? And like, how does being a superhero get involved with that?
Okay. So it's pretty straightforward. It's not easy, but it's straightforward. And the process consists of two parts. And part number one is actually something like a spiritual rehab. And the reason for that is because we, as true divine beings, living in this really confined, limited existence with no guidance, actually tend to accumulate a lot of traumas because not living as your true self is super traumatic. And this is why it's not safe or clever to give someone tools to develop their power straight away. Because using this kind of power is like plugging yourself into high tension or putting a really strong current of water through a pipe network. Now, if there is something wrong with those pipes, they're going to burst. And this is why first you find out essentially our energy network can be seen as a network of pipes. And we need to discover whether they're blocked, like the chakras, for example. Are they working properly? Most people have no idea how to operate them, how to open them and, just regulate their activity. So it's all over the place. And they accumulate a lot of energy junk, a lot of traumas, and sometimes they're even attacked by, astral entities, like negative astral entities. So we need to get rid of that first. And then in the second part, this is where the fun begins. We learn how to navigate through the mental system that we have, how to use our powers, how to bend reality, how to heal with your touch or just with your presence, how to manifest, how to do all this cool stuff that you watched in Star Wars or heard about, and you thought of as superpowers. Actually, developing common sense as well. Apparently common sense is so rare these days that it's also considered a superpower. But yeah, mental independence. And this is super important. Most people don't realize that their thoughts, their ideas, their goals, and even their emotions are not actually theirs. There exists a phenomenon called mental and emotional contagion between people. And so it happens a lot, especially with self-development community, that people go there, they want to discover the truth, they're open, they don't question what they're being told. And that creates a situation where they absorb stuff, whether it's good or bad, and make it their own. And this is why when you look through profile pictures of, let's say, our tribe, people who are into self-development, you can tell, people who are business owners, you can tell, because they seem to be very much alike. and not always in a good way. It means that they've surrendered their uniqueness, their individuality to follow a certain mold. And this is what actually makes them suffer deep down. So if you look at something like cool and shiny someone is doing and you think, oh, I really want to do that as well, it seems so cool the way they do it, and you start following that path, but if it's not aligned with your soul path, your soul is going to rebel against that massively and is going to give you so much grief and so much depression, like you don't want even know. And so if someone is depressed, it simply means that they're not living their purpose, aka they're not thinking and feeling for themselves, and they're not being themselves deep down. And so depression appears as a conflict between your ego mind that is always obsessed with the shiny object syndrome. It's just what the ego does. And your subconscious or your soul that knows your truth and wants to follow its unique path in this lifetime. So if you feel that conflict appearing in you, simply ask yourself, okay, where can I be straying from my truth, my integrity? And sometimes, actually, I would say quite often, you need someone to help you, like a mentor, to help you see your blind spots. But ultimately, it comes down to mindfulness, because if you find that you're doing something and you're not super inspired to do that, and you need external motivation to do that, accountability, it means that something is not quite working. Because the example I like to give people is, imagine you're really hungry, like you're starving, and you come back from wherever, say a long trip, and someone puts a plate of food, and not just any food, but your favorite food in front of you. What are the chances you're going to procrastinate? Right? Or need any external motivation to, like, oh yeah, but do I really deserve it? Oh, I don't think I'm good enough. Maybe other people can eat it, but no, I guarantee if you're starving, there is your favorite meal right in front of you, you're not going to procrastinate. So with purpose, with living your purpose, with sharing your gift, it's very much alike, because it's so strong coming from your soul that if you are aligned, if you're fully stood in that integrity, there is no stopping you. You don't need anyone to motivate you ever, because you can't help but keep doing that because it makes you feel alive. And this is the feeling that we all seek. And this is actually what people describe as the feeling of flow. They don't understand that the feeling of flow appears when you get closer to your true self. So the closer you are to your true self and living your purpose, the more you are in the feeling of flow until it becomes your natural state. So you don't need to chase it, you don't need to hug it. It is a natural side effect of you being you.
I like that because I'm obsessed with flow state. I'm trying to get into flow states, especially creatively. I like to get into creative flow states, like create content, different things, or like get my ideas going. Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah. It means that you being you. So it's the feeling of your true self. Whenever it appears, it means that you're on the right track.
Gotcha. What are some ways that you enjoy? I know you said that, like, well, let me just ask it. What are some ways that you enjoy getting into flow or getting into your creative capabilities, I guess?
I am in a place where I don't need to get into it. It's me. It's there. It's
Gotcha.
like, yeah, what do you do to breathe? You don't, you just breathe because it's part of how you function. So this is what I'm saying. The closer you get to living your purpose, the more you are in a feeling of flow. You don't live it. You don't need to enter it. It becomes your baseline.
Gotcha. And then whenever you don't feel it, that means that there's like a conflict going on.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. It
Gotcha.
means that something is wrong. You just need to develop what's wrong, discover what's wrong.
Got you. Yeah, I felt a lot of that like last week, a lot of like kind of my ego and my patterns that I naturally do conflicting with like my soul, which is like, and then that's always the thing is my ego wants to go forward and get shit done and get that achievement high.
Oh,
And my soul's like, no, dude, you need to like kind of like chill out a bit and like chill out your energy and like allow the new what is it, the new patterns to kind of emerge.
Yeah.
And it's like, no. So that makes sense. Okay, cool. Very cool. What are some of the biggest misconceptions you see like in the like spiritual field that are like being taught, or things that are like kind of being, I don't know, just distracting men from getting to their purpose or whatnot?
I would say what I mentioned before, pulling them away from their natural polarity. And if you allow this to happen, it actually pulls you away from your personal power and the feeling of flow, because we are at our most powerful when we are aligned with our truth. So whether we're male or female, it doesn't matter. The closer you are to your polarity, the closer you are to your truth, the more powerful and unstoppable you are. So the way I describe it usually is, imagine a circle with a dot in the middle, and
Yeah.
that's a blue dot, and an orange dot somewhere within that circle. So it may be closer to the periphery, it may be closer to the blue dot. So the blue dot is the position of your ultimate power, of where you want to be, your ultimate unfoldment as a person, as a man, as a divine being. And so the closer you are, your orange point currently, like you are here. So the closer you get to that blue dot position, the more flow and joy you experience in your life. So you don't need to do anything at all. You just feel it as your baseline. It naturally pops up. So the more it pops up, the more it means that you're going in the right direction. And the more you have to struggle to get there, or if you don't experience that at all, it means that your orange dot is really far and is closer to the periphery. And this is the point where the person is overwhelmed more and more with the feeling of anxiety, guilt, fear, depression, and he starts being open to mental manipulation and suggestion from others. So he's not the master of himself. He's not the king of his reality. He's more and more of a victim without realizing that. So this is a very dangerous place to be. And this is where many people find themselves in, because the spirituality right now, as I said, the main focus is to pull the man away from their polarity into the opposite one, into going, oh, accept, surrender, just don't try to argue with what is, just accept everything as it is. And I'm not talking about mindfulness, by the way. Mindfulness is really important. Being aware of things is really important. I'm talking about a position where you are not in charge. You put something else in charge and you just accept the consequences, because that is the feminine polarity. Using something already created for you and making the best of it is the feminine polarity. If men slide into it, it makes them weak, it brings them down, and makes them depressed. And the second one is role playing the ideas from the previous era that used to work back then, but they don't work anymore, because those people, yes, they were amazing. They, like, in many respects, they were a lot stronger than we are right now. But this is only because they were grounded in their truth at the time. Us trying to copy them or role play them or cosplay them is not going to make us any stronger. We have to be rooted in our own truth. Just remind yourself that, yes, those people were amazing and inspirational, but they were not the TikTok generation. They knew nothing about crypto. They would be completely lost in our era. So our era has a very different energy from that before. And before, the ideal was some knight on a white horse saving princesses. And right now, well, look at those women. They are not princesses in need of saving. They are quite strong in their own right. So for men, it's about being the master of your reality, like a real life superhero or a Jedi or an archangel, whatever speaks to you. It's that. It's being the divine being, living this mundane reality, but using your divine powers. So having this awareness of, I'm not just this little physical shell, and I can prove it. I can use my power. I can bend reality. I can make things happen that people consider miracles because I just manifest them. I can heal other people. I can inspire other people. So things like that. And those people would not understand the concept of being a superhero because back then it wasn't even developed. They were thinking of, knights on white horses, and it was congruent with them. And so trying to mimic or role play someone else, no matter how awesome, is going to bring you down because you, in your ultimate expression, are the most awesome version of you, the most powerful version of you. So everyone's path is unique. And yes, we have obviously patterns to follow to get there, but ultimately, the worst thing you can do is to start role playing someone else, especially from a time that is not aligned to ours.
That's huge. That's, yeah, I like that a lot. Trying to think about it, there was a few points you said about being a superhero. Oh, that's what I want to ask. What are you excited about in the future as far as seeing us become more superhero like and being able to bend reality? Like, what are you most excited to kind of see humanity go towards with that?
That's another awesome question. So I would love men to understand what the masculinity of the new era really entails and start embracing it. So we have an exceptionally cool tribe that are reality benders, masters of elements, real life Jedi, whatever you name it. But it's this kind of a crowd that kind of an X-Men in real life, but they don't think much of it because it becomes their nature. So you don't think, oh, look at me, like I'm a superhero. You think I am being my true self. And this is why once you step into that, you just become unstoppable because you don't need validation from anyone else. I would say one of the most important things, a thing that holds many men back from developing their true self, is subconsciously trying to seek validation, trying to make sure that they're doing things right, which is normal on one hand, because unlike women who have this natural knack of just discovering things intuitively, they don't need to be told. They just sense things within themselves because this is how their mind works. For men, it's a lot easier when men have a clear set of steps to follow, a blueprint, an action plan, like a lot easier. And because right now, the majority of men, well, obviously, those people who train with me do get that, but the majority is completely lost because they don't have any solid action plan, any solid set of steps to stop being a boy and start being a true man. I was actually talking to someone recently, and she was a really attractive and quite a financially stable lady, should I say. And we were talking, and she said, well, both me and almost all of my friends are single. And I find it really sad. And I said, well, why is that? And she said, well, you see, it's just tiring because we want to find real men. And all we find are those boys. And with my ex, I felt I had to be a mother and a father for him. And it just wore me out. So we split. And my friends, likewise, they want to find a man in their lives, but they find this, there is a term, man-child, about someone who has never really grown up. They've grown up in their body, but not in their mind. And this is what happens because our kind of self-development right now actually encourages that. You know, being soft, being meek, being passive, more feminine than masculine. Again, accepting what is, using those shamanic ways where your self disappears and merges with the universe and things like that. And so that keeps them in that state, trapped, and they don't realize. If you look into their eyes, you will find something quite interesting. They look like the eyes of someone who is on drugs all the time. It's that look of not being present, but kind of elated in a strange way, like in a creepy, almost kind of way. You know what I mean? So it means that that person is not in control, that they've strayed so far from their power, their truth, their masculine polarity, that they feel completely lost. So this is what many of those schools of self-development are doing for guys. And this is why I said it's really painful to watch.
Got you, Jay. This has been great talking with you. It's getting kind of loud here. I've been trying to mute to block out some of the sound. But why don't you wrap with us by telling us a little bit about your book and where people can find it? And yeah, want to hear more about it.
Sure. So with my books, I have several. You can find them on Amazon, super easy. They are also available from different booksellers, but Amazon is a no-brainer. And so I would say the best book that I recommend you start your journey with is this one. There we go, called The Light Watch Chronicles. This is a very different book, by the way. It does seem like a fantasy book, but really it's about the alchemy of your mind. This is why many people actually compare it to The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho, because as you read this book and you have these epic adventures in time and space, but really you are developing yourself as a man and a divine being. You're discovering the main mistakes that people make when try to follow their purpose, because you would be surprised. Most people actually don't want to live their purpose. They're too afraid of it. It seems too grand, too great, too overwhelming. And so they actually step away. So some of the main mistakes that people make on their path to purpose. And also you get to discover how your mind works and how to bend reality and how to do lots of really cool stuff, which you then get to use in your everyday life. So it feels like stepping into the reality of the book and living there and making your own reality. So I often say it's interactive in that sense, because you just get to make your everyday life a magic reality, an augmented magic reality, where you get to learn to see energies, for example, learn to see astral entities as well. So you're prepared and you don't get attacked suddenly. Super important, especially for business owners, because, if your mind is taken over and then you have to talk to a team, that gets really complicated. So developing yourself as this warrior in spirit, as this reality bender, the master of realities, which is, as I said, the most important thing to focus on right now for everyone who wants to step into their true power and masculinity.
I love it. It sounds genius. I gotta check it out. I know I've kind of looked at some reviews and whatnot. It sounds cool. I love the idea of it, that you mixed a narrative for someone to follow, but it's also teaching them these very high level lessons that they can learn and start applying into their life. And I think that's genius too, that you're literally stepping into the book when you're doing it too. So I like that, man. Awesome.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, we as human beings are wired to learn through stories. And so it's easier to remember. And this is why it's a story, but you get to learn so much. And by the way, if printed text is not your thing, right now, there is a company called Be Here that is making this book into a dramatized audio series. So it's not like an audiobook. Every character has his or her own voice. So it's like watching a movie with your eyes closed, and it's incredible. Just the job they've done is beyond awesome.
That's exciting. I'm glad you're putting out work like that, because I feel like there needs to be more content like that. I love good content, and I apologize for it being loud too over here. But
no worries.
Yeah, I'm excited to check it out. when I post this video, you can post a link in the comments, and so people can find it. But
Sure.
we'll wrap here since it's getting super loud. But dude, it was a pleasure talking with you, and I'm sure we'll speak again too, man.
Likewise. That was awesome.
Yeah.